Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Today I'm going to talk about something that I usually don't talk about, and that's going to be God and religion. A couple of months ago, I did a video entitled Why I Believe in God. And this video that I'm doing now is basically a continuation of that discussion. I will include a link to my first video in the description box to this video. But, I just want to be clear where I stand. I believe in God. I believe in heaven and hell. I believe in the day of judgment. I believe in the unseen. I am a Muslim, and, I don't make any apologies for my faith. I stand up and I defend my faith. And as a Muslim, I believe in divine revelation. I believe that the Qur'an was revealed to Muhammad, peace be upon him, by God. It was not a man-made book. It's not, written by a man. It's written by God. It's revealed by God. That's what I believe. And as a Muslim, I believe in other revelation as well. I believe in what was revealed to the Jews and to the Christians. I believe in God's messengers from Abraham to Moses to Jesus and Muhammad and all the other messengers, and may peace be upon them all. So I just wanted to lay out where I stand. I believe. I am a believer. Now, what prompted me to do this video is a couple of videos that I saw here on YouTube. I saw a series of videos by different YouTubers, basically raising questions about God and religion. And one of the videos in particular really inspired me to push forward and do this video. I'm not feeling the best right now. I have an earache and all that stuff. But I felt the need to just go forward with this video because, I saw this video where this person was basically espousing atheism and making mockery of people that believe, and, making all kinds of blasphemous statements. And people had a right to believe what they want. They have freedom of speech in this country. There's nothing saying that somebody can't speak the way they feel like speaking, or, express their views the way they feel like expressing them. But, I'll say this. When you're trying to make arguments, it may not be a good idea to make mockery of the people that you're talking to. It may not be a good idea to mock or make fun of, people's core beliefs. So I'll just say that and leave it at that. And, I'm not going to mention any names in this video because the point is not to go back and forth with anybody or to make a person the focus of the video. The point is to talk about God and religion. Now, some have basically raised the question of, why does evil happen? If there is a God, why do evil things happen in the world? And I'll just respond in two ways. The first response is, there are some things that are really beyond human comprehension. And, as a believer, I believe that God is all-knowing and all-wise. And God's understanding is far beyond human understanding. And there are some things and some events that we will never be able to understand why they occurred, because there are certain limits to our intellect. See, so often man is so full of pride and arrogance that man thinks that he understands everything when he doesn't. There are limits to our intellect. There are things that we will never understand. And there's a parable in the book that I believe in, the Qur'an, of the story of Moses and the wise man. Moses accompanied a wise man on a journey. And on this journey, this wise man did several things. And to Moses, since Moses at the time lacked understanding, he didn't understand exactly why the man was doing what he was doing. And I'm not going to go into detail about each one of the incidents or, what actions took place. And, I may provide a link in the description box, citing, not a link, but actually a citation to the verses from the Quran that deal with this story so that people can read it for themselves. But basically, you had a situation where a man was with Moses on a journey, and the man told Moses to be patient and to follow him and to not question him or, raise any issues so this man could teach Moses some lessons. And each time the man committed an act, Moses asked questions. Moses did not have the patience that he was told that he should have on this journey. And eventually the man parted company with Moses. But before doing so, he explained why he did what he did. And each explanation, provided wisdom. It pointed out how everything that this man was doing was for a greater good that Moses was not able to understand when he just looked at the act as it occurred. So the point is, there are things that we cannot understand and will never understand. There are limits to our intellect. For those of us who believe, we believe that God is all wise. So again, there are things that man will never fully grasp or fully understand. Also, we have to understand the concept of free will. And this is something that's mentioned in the three major religions. The fact that God, or the belief that God blessed man with free will. So man has the right to choose. Man can choose between good and evil. Man can choose between righteousness and wickedness. Man can choose between belief and non-belief. And it's man's choices that create a lot of the evil that we see in the world. Man's greed, man's hatred, man's selfishness creates a lot of the turmoil and chaos that we see in the world. A lot of the evil that we see in the world. Whether it's war or famine or all kinds of man-made disasters. They come from man's wickedness. When man is disobedient, when he no longer follows, divine guidance and wisdom, you see the results. And we see those results around us every day. When we look at our neighborhoods and we see the violence. When we look at our neighborhoods and we see drug addiction and people selling drugs. When we look at our neighborhoods and see prostitution and all kinds of other vices that happen in the world. When we look at, teenage pregnancy and, children born out of wedlock and things like that. When we look at those things, they're all a consequence of disobedience. They're all a consequence of the moral decay in the community. And, I've talked about this before. Of course, there are social economic factors that contribute to a lot of the problems that we see. But we also have to realize that values play a role in a lot of the problems that we see in our community as well. So we can't blame, you know, the disasters that we see in the world on, some idea that there is no God. What is man doing? What are you doing to make the world a better place? I mean, all the scriptures urge people to give charity. They urge them to feed the hungry, to clothe the poor, to provide them with shelter, to take care of those who are less fortunate. We all are familiar with the golden rule. We are all familiar with basic morals, the basic idea of the Ten Commandments. We all understand those things. And, when we look at the world, a lot of the problems are a result of disobedience. People steal, people kill, and that is what creates a lot of the chaos that we see in the world. It's what man is doing to destroy this world. It can't be blamed on the false notion that there is no God. There is a God. It's up to man to believe in God and to follow what God has laid down as guidance. See, instead of worshiping God, people worship other things. They worship attention. They worship money. They worship material things like cars and homes and things like that. So they've lost sight of what's important. And again, that's why we see a lot of the chaos in this world. That's why we see a lot of the chaos. And another point that I want to make is that, this particular person, they focused on negativity, but they did not talk about the goodness that we see in mankind. They didn't talk about the good works that we see. People feeding the hungry, people caring for the hungry. They talked about disease and death, but they didn't talk about the fact that cures for diseases have been found, that save lives. They didn't talk about all the lives saved as a result of innovations in medicine and guidance. They didn't talk about the hungry being fed by the generous. They didn't talk about the poor being clothed and provided with housing. They didn't talk about those good works that happen every day in our lives. They didn't talk about the miracles that we witness a lot of times, where people live um, and survive against the odds all the time. They didn't talk about those miracles that defy standard explanation. Every day there's a story about someone who survives miraculously in a car accident or some other kind of freak accident. We're told about those stories all the time. So we need to look at the good as well and talk about, the goodness that exists in the world. When people do follow, basic divine principles like the golden rule, where you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Basic principles. we need to reflect on the good in the world as well. When we look at, the plight of African Americans, we have to bear witness that there is a greater force. There is a creator. We survived the most brutal form of oppression in human history. We went from slaves to becoming congressmen, mayors, governors, and even president of the United States. We have made great progress as a people. There's still much more progress that needs to be made, but when you look at the plight of the African American, you have to bear witness to the fact that there is a God. You have to bear witness to it. Belief in God is what kept us and made us endure, the worst forms of oppression. Belief in God gave us hope when we had no other reason to hope, no other reason to believe in anything. We are a spiritual people. That is who African Americans are. And, frankly, I'm just troubled by the fact that it seems like atheism is like popular here on YouTube and elsewhere in the African American community. And that's a complete departure from who we are as a people. Whether we were practicing traditional African beliefs or Islam or Christianity, one thing remained constant: the belief in a creator, the belief in God. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to, express my views on this issue. And, before I go, I just wanted to talk about another point. This other YouTuber basically said that if you believe in a book or you believe in, a religion, then you lack confidence. I mean, I think that that's an overgeneralization. You know, a lot of times religion inspires confidence. Religion not only teaches people to have faith in God, but it also teaches them to have faith in themselves and their fellow man and woman. Peace.